Have you ever walked out of a conversation and felt it? That subtle shift. Short replies, less eye contact, a vibe that says, something's off. And I think it's me. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. People don't stop liking you because you're boring. They stop liking you because of how you make them feel. And in 2025, when everyone's overwhelmed, overstimulated, and emotionally fried, your emotional intelligence matters more than your resume, your hustle, or your intentions. Wait till you hear this. Most people genuinely believe they're self-aware. But studies show the majority of us aren't. That's where the problem starts. This isn't a video about being fake, or people-pleasing, or trying to get everyone to like you. This is about understanding why connections quietly break, and how to stop sabotaging relationships you actually care about. And spoiler alert, it has almost nothing to do with them. It starts with you. Let's begin the journey. Think of your life as a story. You're the main character, trying to succeed, trying to belong, trying to be respected. But every hero has a blind spot. And for most of us, that blind spot is emotional self-awareness. Here's the mistake. We treat emotions like enemies. Anger? Bad. Jealousy? Bad. Insecurity? Embarrassing. So we suppress them, ignore them, bury them under, "I'm fine." And then, surprise, they leak out sideways, as sarcasm, as defensiveness, as passive-aggressive comments, as that tone you swear you didn't mean. Quick question. Have you ever said, "I was just being honest," and noticed the room go cold? Yeah. That's not honesty. That's unprocessed emotion driving the car. Here's where Emotional Intelligence 2.0 flips the script. Your feelings aren't good or bad. They're data, signals, like a dashboard light on your car. Ignoring it doesn't make the problem disappear. It just guarantees a breakdown later. And when that breakdown happens in conversations, people feel it. They might not call you out. They might not argue. They'll just pull away. But here's where it gets real. Most relationship damage doesn't come from big blow-ups. It comes from small emotional misfires, repeated over time, rolling your eyes without realizing it, interrupting because you're anxious to be heard, checking your phone while someone's opening up. You don't mean harm, but intention doesn't cancel impact. And this is where the hero's journey begins, with awareness. Because the moment you can name what you're feeling, you stop being controlled by it. Imagine this. Someone criticizes you at work. Old version of you? Defensive, reactive, sharp reply. New version of you pauses and thinks, okay, I feel threatened. Why? That pause is power. That pause is the gap between stimulus and response. And most people never step into it. They live on emotional autopilot, which is why they keep asking, why do people change around me? Here's a hard pill to swallow. People don't dislike you for your flaws. They dislike you for your unmanaged emotions. But don't worry, this isn't a guilt trip. It's a map. And the next step on this map is learning how to manage emotions before they manage you. Because awareness without control, that's just anxiety with better vocabulary. But when you master that gap, something wild happens. People feel safer around you. Conversations flow. Conflicts shrink instead of explode. And suddenly, you're not trying to be likable. You just are. But hold on. This is only the first layer. Because even if you master your own emotions, there's another reason people stop liking you. And it has nothing to do with what you say. It's about what you miss.
Here's the part nobody teaches you. You can be calm, self-aware, well-intentioned, and still slowly lose people. Why? Because emotional intelligence isn't just about what's happening inside you, it's about what you're noticing outside you. This is where most connections quietly die. Social awareness, reading the room, sensing the shift, catching what's not being said. And in a world where everyone's distracted, rushed, and half listening, this skill has become rare. Let me paint a picture. You're talking. You're explaining something important. You're making total sense. But the other person's eyes drift. Their shoulders tense. Their replies get shorter. You keep going anyway. That's the moment. That exact moment is where people stop feeling seen. And once someone feels invisible, they emotionally check out. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. They're waiting for their turn, rehearsing their point, mentally scrolling, and without realizing it, they miss emotional cues screaming for attention. A sigh, a pause, a forced smile. Tiny signals, big meaning. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 calls this the external lens. It's the ability to notice emotional data in others, not just words, but energy. Because emotions are contagious. If someone feels unheard around you, they associate that discomfort with you, even if you meant well. Quick reality check. Have you ever walked away from someone thinking, they didn't really get me? That's how people feel around emotionally unaware communicators. And here's the kicker. They won't tell you. They'll just distance themselves, stop inviting you, stop opening up, stop trying. But here's where it gets real. Social awareness isn't about becoming hypersensitive. It's about being present, fully. One simple habit can change everything. Use people's names. I know, sounds basic, but psychologically, hearing your name activates attention and trust. It tells the brain, I matter here. Try this. Next conversation, say their name naturally, not weirdly, not forced, just once or twice. Watch their posture soften. Watch engagement rise. Small things, massive impact. Another shift? Stop multitasking during conversations. Checking your phone while someone's talking sends a silent message, you're not my priority, even if you don't mean it. And over time, those micro-messages stack up. Here's a brutal truth. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you said. And when they consistently feel ignored, rushed, or talked over, their nervous system associates you with stress. No amount of charisma can fix that. But here's the hopeful part. This is a skill, not a personality trait. You can train it. Start by asking better questions. Instead of waiting to speak, ask, how did that feel? What was the hardest part? What do you need right now? And then, this is key, pause. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Silence makes people feel safe to continue, and safety is the foundation of connection. But there's another layer. Even if you master awareness of others, even if you read every room perfectly, relationships can still fall apart. Why? Because awareness without action creates frustration. Which brings us to the most critical skill of all, managing relationships when things get uncomfortable. Conflict, disagreement, tension. This is where most people either explode or disappear, and both cost you respect. But the people who master this, they don't avoid hard conversations, they navigate them. And that's what separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. But before we go there, there's one mistake almost everyone makes during conflict that instantly erodes trust. It feels logical, it feels efficient, and it quietly pushes people away.
All right. This is where things usually fall apart. Not because people are cruel, not because they don't care, but because they handle discomfort the wrong way. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes during conflict. They focus on being right instead of being clear. And the moment someone feels overpowered, dismissed, or misunderstood, something inside them closes. Even if they nod, even if they say, okay. Emotionally, they're gone. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 explains this perfectly. Conflict isn't the problem. Chaos is. Chaos happens when emotions go unacknowledged. Think about it. Have you ever been upset, and the other person jumps straight into solutions? Just relax. You're overthinking. It's not that serious. Logically correct. Emotionally disastrous. Because when emotions are ignored, they don't disappear. They escalate. This is why emotionally intelligent people do something different. They slow the moment down. They name the emotion. Not dramatically, not theatrically, simply. I can see this is frustrating. Sounds like that hurt more than you expected. I get why you'd feel that way. Those sentences don't admit guilt. They admit awareness. And awareness is calming. Your nervous system relaxes when it feels understood. Here's a pattern most people don't notice. When someone doesn't feel heard, they repeat themselves. Louder, sharper, more emotional. Not because they're trying to win, but because they're trying to be seen. So if you're thinking, why are they getting so worked up? The real question is, what emotion haven't I acknowledged yet? Now let's talk about the quiet killer of likability, defensiveness. Defensiveness says, I'm protecting my ego, not the relationship. And people feel that instantly. Even if you're right, even if you're justified. Once someone senses you're more invested in saving face than solving the issue, trust erodes. High EQ individuals do something counterintuitive. They explain their decisions, not just make them. Instead of, because that's how it is, they say, here's why I made that call. This was the best option with what I knew at the time. Explanation builds transparency. Transparency builds trust. And trust buys you forgiveness. This matters everywhere. Friendships, work, family, romantic relationships. People can handle bad news. They can handle change. What they can't handle is feeling powerless and confused. Now here's a hard truth. Sometimes people stop liking you not because you did something terrible, but because they never felt emotionally safe around you. They felt judged, rushed, or subtly dismissed. And again, they won't tell you. They'll just drift, stop responding, stop sharing, stop trying. But here's the good news. You can reverse this, not by being louder, not by being nicer, but by becoming emotionally consistent. Consistency means your reactions aren't unpredictable. Your tone doesn't shift suddenly. Your presence feels steady. People relax around consistency. It tells their nervous system, I'm safe here. And safety is magnetic. Now let's zoom out. Why does any of this matter? Because emotional intelligence isn't about being liked. It's about being trusted. And trust is the foundation of influence. The book makes a bold claim. EQ accounts for 58% of performance across jobs. That's massive. Not because smarter people feel more, but because emotionally intelligent people recover faster. From mistakes, from conflict, from stress. They don't spiral, they adapt. They respond instead of react. And that makes people want to work with them, follow them, stay connected to them. But here's the twist. You can master every EQ skill and still feel empty, still feel disconnected, still feel like something's missing. Because emotional intelligence isn't just about others. It's also about how you treat yourself. And this is where most people get it wrong. They use awareness to judge themselves instead of guide themselves. And that quiet self-judgment, it leaks into every interaction. So before we close this journey, we need to talk about the one relationship you can't escape, the one that shapes all the others, the relationship with yourself, and how mastering it changes everything. Let's finish this where it all began, with you. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people never face.
People don't stop liking you because of one mistake. They stop liking you because of a pattern. And that pattern usually starts inside your own head. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 makes this clear without sugarcoating it. The way you talk to yourself becomes the way you talk to others. If you're harsh internally, you'll be sharp externally. If you're impatient with your own emotions, you'll rush other people's feelings too. And if you constantly judge yourself, that judgment leaks out, even when you don't say a word. Think about it. Ever met someone who feels calm to be around? Not perfect, not fake positive, just grounded. That calm isn't confidence. It's self-management. It's someone who's not at war with their own emotions. They feel anger without exploding. They feel insecurity without projecting. They feel stress without spreading it. And people feel that energy instantly. That's why EQ is contagious. Now here's the final shift that changes everything. High EQ people don't try to control emotions. They work with them. They stop asking, "How do I get rid of this feeling?" and start asking, "What is this feeling trying to tell me?" Anger might be pointing to a boundary. Anxiety might be signaling uncertainty. Jealousy might be revealing desire. When you listen instead of suppress, emotions pass faster. You stop overreacting. You stop under-communicating. You stop sabotaging connection. And suddenly, people don't feel pushed away. They feel pulled in. Because emotionally intelligent people are predictable in the best way. They don't explode randomly. They don't ghost emotionally. They don't weaponize silence. They pause. They breathe. They respond. And here's the irony. The more emotionally intelligent you become, the less you chase approval. You stop needing people to like you, and that's usually when they do. Because desperation repels, presence attracts. Now let's bring this home. If you've ever wondered, why do people change toward me? Why do relationships feel harder than they should? Why do I feel misunderstood, even when I'm trying? This is why. Not because you're broken, not because you're unlikable, but because no one taught you how emotions actually work. Bradberry's final message is powerful. You can't stop feeling, but you can stop being controlled by feelings. That's the real upgrade. Not becoming colder, not becoming quieter, but becoming clearer. Clear with yourself, clear with others. And clarity builds trust. Trust builds connection. Connection builds influence, love, and opportunity. That's why EQ isn't a soft skill. It's a survival skill. In careers, in relationships, in life. So here's your takeaway. Start small. Pause before reacting. Name emotions without judging them. Listen longer than you speak. Explain instead of defend. Choose calm over control. Do that consistently, and you won't have to wonder why people stop liking you. Because they won't. They'll feel seen. They'll feel safe. They'll feel understood. And in a world starving for emotional awareness, that makes you rare. If this hit home, don't just scroll. Sit with it. Practice it. And if you want more psychology-backed stories like this, hit subscribe. Not for motivation, but for mastery.